Console gaming has always been great and all, but if you're of a certain age, you will be able to recall a time when the arcade was a magical place that could deliver epic experiences that could provide more than home consoles were capable of. This could not be more apparent than with the title we are highlighting today, a truly epic beat-em-up, and by that point, easily the greatest superhero themed game the world had seen yet. So with all of that said, join me on this nostalgic journey as we take a trip through time to revisit one of the most fondly remembered games you couldn't play at home in its era. An awesome adventure that gamers still speak highly of over 30 years after its release. So without further ado, hello ladies and gentlemen, Big Daddy Top Hat here. This is the amazing X-Men, the arcade game. Yeah. To start our tale today, let's begin in 1989, an incredibly interesting year for Marvel's X-Men franchise. By this point, the X-Men series was already well established in the world of comic books. Originally created by writer Stan Lee and artist Jack Kirby, and making their first appearance in X-Men issue 1 in 1963, by the late 80s the X-Men had become one of Marvel Comics' most popular and enduring superhero teams. While the X-Men had a strong presence in comic books, they had not yet received a cartoon or video game to call their own, both of which would change in '89. That year would see the release of an animated television pilot episode titled X-Men Pride of the X-Men. This pilot aired infrequently in syndication and was later released on video. Shortly after this pilot was delivered, New World Pictures, who owned the Marvel Entertainment Group, started having financial issues and stopped work on just about everything but Muppet Babies. The pilot of this show received a mixed response from critics and fans, but it delivered enough promise to impress Margaret Loach, who would go on to become the head of the Fox Children's Network. Having championed the Pride of the X-Men pilot, she was quick to set up an order of 13 episodes of the X-Men, the hugely popular kids show that would go on to receive 5 very successful seasons. But in regards to the game in question today, it is the humble pilot show known as X-Men Pride of the X-Men that is most relevant to this story. The critically acclaimed and now beloved X-Men animated series would not begin airing on the Fox Kids network until 1992. Which rather quirkily meant that in the 3-year gap between the release of Pride of the X-Men and the animated series, that the video games that would be produced would be graphically represented by the characters and art style present in Pride of the X-Men. 1989 would see the release of 2 games, one of which was known as X-Men Madness in Murder World. This game, released on the Commodore 64, Amiga computer range and MS-DOS, was created by Paragon Software, and was a simple side-scroller with puzzle elements. Elsewhere, the X-Men would also arrive on the Nintendo Entertainment System, in the game titled The Uncanny X-Men, published by the infamous LJN. The game is a top-down action-adventure game that allows players to control one of the X-Men characters such as Cyclops, Wolverine, Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler and Iceman, each with their unique abilities. The Uncanny X-Men NES game is known for its challenging gameplay and is often considered one of the most difficult titles of the system. Usually the butt of jokes, this game got really negative reviews, and some publications of the period even went as far as to call the game the worst superhero game ever made. 1990 would see Paragon Software at it again with X-Men 2, The Fall of Mutants, released on MS-DOS, but it wouldn't be until 1992 that we would not only receive the first good X-Men game, but a truly excellent one. I'm of course referring to the delightful X-Men arcade game produced by Konami. Konami in recent times were responsible for creating some of the greatest arcade beat-em-ups that were available on the market. Not only had they delivered the awesome Crime Fighters games, some of the earliest games to feature 4-player co-op gameplay, but they had also developed some of the greatest licensed beat-em-ups around too. In 1989 this included Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles the arcade game, a massive hit which was followed up in 1991 by a Simpsons arcade game of the same genre. These games help promote and solidify the popularity of these franchises, encouraging friends and players to cooperate and enjoy the games together, leading to memorable arcade experiences. So building on these all-time greats, what would Konami's X-Men game bring to the table 1 year later? Something brilliant, that's what. Behold, a captivating visual record of my 2020 excursion through the enchanting city of Budapest, where I stumbled upon a remarkable gaming relic that has left an indelible impression on me. On this whimsical trip, I found myself entangled in the compelling world of arcade gaming whilst visiting the city's pinball museum. A focal point of my discovery was an extraordinary cabinet unlike any others around. This peculiar gaming artifact, adorned with a multitude of buttons and joysticks, is an absolute marvel, as it accommodates not one, not two, but a staggering 6 players simultaneously, propelling it into the realm of unparalleled uniqueness within the realm of arcade games. One cannot help but be awestruck by the sheer enormity of this gaming behemoth. The 6-player version of this cabinet defies convention with a distinctive feature: 2 screens. One screen is positioned conventionally while the other resides within the lower confines of the cabinet, ingeniously reflected by a strategically placed mirror. This ingenuity creates a seamless illusion of a single widescreen gaming experience, setting a new standard for innovation in the world of arcade gaming. As my curiosity led me deeper into this mesmerising gaming universe, I couldn't help but delve into the roster of playable characters that awaited me. The game features a formidable lineup of 6 iconic X-Men characters, each with their unique powers and abilities. Among them are Cyclops, Colossus, Wolverine, Storm, Nightcrawler and Dazzler, all drawn from the iconic designs showcased in the Pride of the X-Men pilot we touched on earlier. The diversity and uniqueness of these characters adds an extra layer of excitement to the gameplay, making every character choice as pivotal a decision as choosing which flavour of dessert to eat after a succulent Chinese meal. But what you might wonder is the ultimate point of playing these arcade-style scrolling beat-em-ups of old in the dystopian 2020s? Well, in its simplicity lies the allure. Players must navigate their chosen heroes through a kaleidoscope of brightly coloured stages, engaging in epic battles against a slew of nefarious mutant bosses. This journey culminates in a face-off of epic proportions against the master of magnetism himself, the formidable Magneto. The rich tapestry of gameplay experiences, from battling various foes to confronting the overarching menace of Magneto, promises an exhilarating and unforgettable adventure, one that we will soon explore in greater depth. This venerable game presents players with a straightforward yet engaging control scheme reminiscent of many beloved titles of its era. As you take the reins of an X-Men character, you'll discover that the fundamental controls allow you to perform 3 essential actions: attacking, jumping, and unleashing a devastating mutant power. These mutant powers, potent abilities with a capacity to decimate multiple foes on screen, add a thrilling layer to the gameplay experience. However, their power comes at a price, as using a mutant power exacts a toll on your character's health. Fear not though, for both mutant powers and health can be restored by collecting valuable items scattered throughout the game. Each of the iconic X-Men characters boasts a unique array of combat moves, combining punches and kicks for close quarter encounters. However, their true distinction lies in their special mutant attacks, ensuring that no 2 characters are alike and contributing to the game's rich variety. As the game's narrative unfolds, it commences with an enthralling introductory sequence that depicts the menacing figure of Magneto, accompanied by a legion of formidable sentinels, wreaking havoc upon a beleaguered city. In the midst of this chaos, Professor Xavier, ever vigilant, watches the dire events unfold via a monitor. Observing the impending catastrophe, he swiftly dispatches the X-Men on a heroic mission to save the troubled city from certain destruction. Your game and adventure begins with you or your cooperative partner, if playing with a friend, thrust into the midst of a battle against hordes of relentless sentinels. The setting is nothing short of apocalyptic, with the city streets resembling a war-torn wasteland littered with debris and devastated police cars. This early stage serves as a tantalising appetizer, priming your gaming appetite as you test your mettle against the formidable boss Pyro, who makes a dramatic entrance by bursting through a wall. Although this initial stage may not pose an overwhelming challenge, it provides a glimpse of the thrilling obstacles that lie further ahead. The game's subsequent chapter transports you to the heart of a grim industrial setting, compelling you to confront not only a fresh onslaught of sentinels, but also adversaries armed with powerful bazookas. The factory ambience is heightened by the presence of various robotic enemies, intensifying the visual and thematic diversity. Within the confines of a war room adorned with a prominent map on the wall, you find yourself embroiled in an epic showdown with a formidable foe known as the Blob. This larger-than-life adversary proves to be a more dangerous challenge than the previous boss, adding layers of complexity to the gameplay and fueling your determination to forge ahead. With the X-Men arcade game, every step of your journey promises new surprises and escalating visuals, ensuring that the excitement never wanes as you guide your chosen hero through a world teeming with peril and adventure. Following the previous harrowing showdown, players are whisked away to a secluded island, ensconced in lush, untamed jungle surroundings. The island stage introduces a fresh array of adversaries, the menacing mutant crocodiles who lurk in the shadowy waters, ready to challenge your mettle. Amidst this verdant backdrop, you also confront colossal mutant wasps, emerging from skull-shaped wall crevices, a sinister addition to the game's enemy roster. As the adventure unfolds, a dramatic face-off with Magneto propels the player to the base of a cascading waterfall, where monstrous foes emerge from the earth, setting the stage for a fight with a somewhat comical yet boisterous boss, Wendigo, whose presence is never subtle, considering that he repeatedly tells us his name throughout the fight. The subsequent stage presents a classic beat-em-up trope, a dimly lit cave, an essential setting that embodies the genre's tradition. Within this subterranean world, the familiar foes make their return, but the game adds an intriguing twist. Some sentinels possess the ability to hurl massive rocks, a homage to the cave environment that elevates the overall immersion. The stage ends in a climactic confrontation with Nimrod, adding an extra layer of challenge to the game's ever-evolving intensity. Beyond the cave's confines, our intrepid characters forge onward, navigating treacherous rocky terrain along a perilous path. In the backdrop, a massive storm rages, further amplifying the sense of urgency and danger. With each step, the obstacles intensify, and the lineup of familiar foes becomes increasingly relentless. The penultimate challenge in this stage is a showdown with the enigmatic White Queen, a boss encounter that raises the stakes even higher. Yet the stage surprises do not cease there, as colossal sentinels suddenly emerge from the background, unleashing a torrent of new foes for the player to vanquish before a further showdown occurs. Players then must defeat the Juggernaut, bitch. After he is dealt with, the players follow Professor Xavier into a temple, but just as players thought they were getting closer to solving the enigma, a shocking revelation unfolds. Professor Xavier, the embodiment of wisdom and guidance, suddenly transforms into the beguiling shapeshifter Mystique. The deceptive mutant craftily lured the player into a trap, casting a wicked smile as she manipulated their trust and led them astray. It was a clever ruse and misdirection of the highest order, and the player falls into her snare. Now underground, the player makes their way through a trippy, temple-y, cavey section featuring psychedelic colours that dance in the background. At the end of the stage, the player faces off against Egyptian mutant enemies before heading off to bloody space. As we get closer to the end, the stage bears a striking resemblance to the climactic finale of the classic game Turtles in Time. Unsurprisingly, players find themselves confronting an even more relentless onslaught of enemy waves here. What truly elevates the challenge is the exhilarating addition of a relentless boss rush, where gamers must courageously navigate a gauntlet featuring every formidable adversary encountered throughout the game, revisiting these famous foes to fight once more. It's a quintessential element of the beat-em-up genre, and it's brilliantly integrated into the gameplay here, offering an extra layer of excitement and suspense. Upon vanquishing this rowdy roster of foe, players finally find themselves in a face-off with none other than Magneto, or so it would seem. However, as victory is achieved and the dust settles, a shocking revelation unfolds. The opponent they've just bested was none other than the cunning shapeshifter Mystique in the skies once again, employing her deceptive talents to confound the heroes. This revelation adds an unexpected twist to the narrative, keeping players on their toes and underscoring the unpredictable nature of the X-Men's adversaries. Once this clash with Mystique is triumphantly resolved, the stage is set for the ultimate showdown against the genuine Magneto, a battle widely acknowledged as one of the most grueling and demanding encounters within the game. This epic confrontation serves as the pinnacle of the game's challenges, pushing players to their limits and demanding every ounce of their gaming skills. Or coins, I guess, considering this is an arcade game. As the dust settles and the battle concludes, the game gracefully rewards players with the rolling of the credits, allowing them to bask in the sweet taste of victory that they've rightfully earned. X-Men the arcade game stands as a concise, straightforward gaming experience, typically clocking in at a mere 30 minutes to complete. Nevertheless, it's worth noting that within the context of the arcade setting, this compact and exhilarating gameplay experience is perfectly tailored for those who are eager to make the most of their available gaming funds and seek a rapid succession of thrills and challenges. In the span of a mere 30 minutes, players could relish the delightful satisfaction of immersing themselves in the unique and captivating world of this outstanding little game. With its 6-player functionality, it was undeniably tailor-made for the quintessential arcade experience. Indeed, it wouldn't be far-fetched to suggest that the game's brevity, coupled with its exceptional multiplayer features, might be the primary factors behind its omission from the home gaming landscape. The game exudes the essence of an arcade gem, perfectly suited to the dimly lit, neon-soaked confines of a buzzing arcade venue. It's as if this game was designed from the ground up to thrive in the lively and communal atmosphere of a classic arcade, where friends and strangers alike could gather around the cabinet, vying for high scores and enjoying its fast-paced gameplay. The heart and soul of the game, its instant accessibility and party-friendly design might have been diluted or lost entirely in the translation to consoles. After all, the arcade environment with its physical buttons, communal competition and limited time spans was an integral part of the game's charm. It's a testament to the game's design that it so effortlessly thrived in the arcade, and any attempt to adapt it to the home console realm might have required a significant overhaul, potentially compromising the very essence that made it shine. In my personal opinion, I believe the amalgamation of all the great things this game contains collectively elevates this particular Konami creation to the zenith of arcade beat-em-up gaming. While it is undeniable that both the Turtles and Simpsons arcade games hold an esteemed position in the pantheon of classic arcade titles, this particular gem, infused with an extra layer of unadulterated pandemonium, stands as a testament to Konami's creative brilliance. The experience of playing this game during its original arcade run remains etched into the hearts of countless gamers, contributing to a rich tapestry of cherished memories shared by enthusiasts. It is this deep and enduring connection that firmly secures its status as one of the perennial greats in the world of arcade gaming. Such is the game's enduring popularity that it eventually transcended the confines of the arcade, receiving a well-deserved home release many years later. Konami, in collaboration with Backbone Entertainment, orchestrated the launch of a high-definition port of this arcade masterpiece on the PlayStation Network and Xbox Live Arcade, marking the occasion on December 14th, 2010. This transition to home consoles allowed a new generation of players to relish the same exhilarating experience that enthralled arcade goers. It's worth noting that despite its ostensibly simple and repetitive gameplay, this game possesses an inexplicable allure that is difficult to resist. IGN aptly encapsulates this phenomenon by highlighting the scenario perfectly when they wrote, "The game is incredibly simple and repetitive, yet it works. It's simply a blast to play with friends." Moving further through time, the game has more recently surfaced in the form of an arcade one-up cabinet, and through history has rightfully appeared on multiple greatest of all time lists. This game deserves your respect. Anyway, if you enjoyed this one, check out my video on the next fantastic X-Men arcade game, Children of the Atom. Yeah, cheerio.